Let's discuss my ins and outs for wedding photography trends. As a photographer who is planning her own wedding, it's a very big, important part of the planning process for me. I unfortunately can't document my own wedding, so it's going to take a lot of creative collaboration with a photographer who I love and trust very dearly to capture these precious memories for me. I've been spending a lot of time looking at inspiration and seeing a lot of the trends that are going around right now, and some of them I like, and some of them I love, and some of them I would rather not see. Small disclaimer, at the end of the day, if you have photos that are done in a style that I personally don't like, please don't take offense to it. Art is subjective. You might like something and get a wonderful feeling from it, and my taste might be a little different. Photos are very personal to whoever is in them and whoever has to hold on to them, so this is just for fun. So in my planning process, I'm very much a Pinterest girly, so I have a Pinterest board where I will be referencing visually throughout this video. So if you see me look down, I'm looking at my phone. We're gonna start off on a positive note because I don't want this video to get too negative, and the examples that I use for anything that I personally don't like is nothing on the photographer. It's just a pose or a camera setting that I personally am not that fond of, and no shame on these photographers. All the photos that I have pulled to reference are extremely well done, and please don't take it that seriously. Okay, so starting off in a positive note, I am a big fan of this current trend of this documentary style when it comes to photographing events. I do like having very staged poses, especially when you have a big group. It can be a little bit easier and less time consuming. The photos can end up being a little bit stiff, and I really love when photos can portray a lot of energy, a lot of kinetic energy, and feel a bit more candid. So this very documentary style of photography is very appealing to me. It gives that sense of organic, candid activity to the image. I'm very inspired by these. I also really like detail shots. I do a lot of detail shots in my own personal work, and I feel like this style of photography kind of caters to that a little bit in a way that's not so polished. I really don't want my photos to feel like a catalog. I decorate our apartment with a lot of family photos, and they feel very organic, and they were just kind of taken in the moment. And so I want my wedding photos, even though there's a lot of planning and strategy that goes into taking those photos, I do want them to feel like they were just kind of taken off the cuff. I'm not super into this current motion blur trend going on. I love motion blur, and I've done my own photos with motion blur that I really love, but I do think that there's a time and a place for them. I see a lot of photographers right now who do motion blur when it's not necessarily needed, or it might not be motion blur, but it might just be out of focus. And I personally would like to see how I looked on my wedding day when I'm 80 years old and I'm reminiscing on my wedding in my photo album. So I feel like these have a time and a place. I think if you're dancing, running down the aisle, running together, getting a little bit of motion blur in those instances is okay. And I do like it in that it has a lot of that kinetic energy that I like in my photos. But there are some times where it can be a little overdone and feel kind of inauthentic. My cousin, who's a photographer, she does a lot of photojournalism. I love her wedding photos. I don't want to share them because privacy, but there was one photo of them running down the aisle, and her wedding, she had a film photographer. So with them coming down the aisle, there was a ton of motion blur from the lights that were decorating the venue and the couple and everything, because the photographer was running, they were running, and it's a very blurry photo, but in that instance, it's authentic, it's organic, and it's expected because of how it was shot. But whenever you're running around with a DSLR and you have a really powerful lens on it, to just kind of purposely blur 90% of your images, I don't enjoy. I feel like the pendulum has swung like way too far to the side and we need to go a little bit back to having our photos in focus. Another trend that I am super into is the harsh flash for reception and dancing, cake cutting, all of that. This feels very nostalgic to me and I think they're very beautiful. There's something kind of vintage about them depending on the venue and the styling of the wedding party and brides, grooms, all of that. So it's a style that I'm very fond of. And I love harsh flash in my own personal work, so I just feel like it's very authentic to me, and I know my fiance is really into it as well, so it fits us. I'm not sure how big of a trend it is as a whole, but I have been seeing a lot more film photography at weddings. I don't know if this is very niche and it's just what Pinterest shows me because I have trained that algorithm to serve me those kind of photos, but I've noticed a lot of people my age getting back into film cameras, whether it be that they have Polaroids that their guests are taking or they're hiring a photographer who does film. And our wedding will primarily be shot digitally, but Sam's cousin is a film photographer and we've asked him if he would be willing to shoot a roll for us, and he's graciously agreed to do that, which is very special because not only is it film, which is an extremely beautiful medium, but it's coming from a family member who Sam has grown up with and has had a very deep, loving connection with. So it's a very special thing. It has a lot of deep meaning for him and for us. So we're very grateful that he's willing to do that, and I'm very excited to see what those photos look like. Another trend that I actually have a very strong disdain for this trend. I don't quite understand it. It's when the bride has her veil over herself and her partner. I don't think they're beautiful. I don't like it when the photographer is shooting from under the veil at the couple. I don't like it when it's a wider shot of the couple in the veil. It just reminds me of being wrapped up in a spider web, and it's just not a feeling that I want from wedding photos. It just reminds me of creepy crawlies, and I know they're very popular. I know a lot of wedding photographers love to do this pose. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm honestly on the fence if I'm going to even wear a veil. There's one veil that I think is very, very cute. When you lift it over your head, it turns into a heart with the ruffles, which I think is very cute and clever, but does not fit our mood board at all. I really love the unexpected camera angles that a lot of photographers are experimenting with at weddings. I think it's really fun. I feel like you can get a little stationary whenever you're documenting an event. At least I have, which is why I typically don't do event photography. So just taking a moment to change your angle, whether you can get a high vantage point or really low and capture a toast, I think it's really fun, and it allows the photographer to insert a little bit more creativity to something that just feels like you don't have a lot of wiggle room for photography. So I really love seeing a lot of stuff like that. I know black and white photos are really popular right now, and I personally am not a photographer who shoots a lot of black and white. I've done a few here and there depending on the particular image. I know right now it's kind of popular. I could feel very 1960s old Hollywood, which I know is very popular with people my age who are getting married, but I don't want all of my photos black and white. We're having a very beautiful summer wedding and I want a lot of those colors captured. I'm fine with a little bit of black and white here or there, but I do want both black and white and in color. My fiance and I are very colorful people. We like to play with color in our interior design and our wardrobes, so to have photos that are just all black and white just doesn't feel like us. We like it a little bit here or there, but overall I know we want a lot of our photos in color, and that's primarily why we're asking for DSLRs, that way we can have both options. And then also film colors are just the absolute best. and I'm very interested to see how they capture the colors of our wedding day. That about does it for all of the trends that really caught my eye and I saw repeated a lot. Again, I don't really know if these are super trendy or if these are a bit more niche trends. I'm not a wedding photographer, so it's not my industry, but as a bride who is planning her wedding, these are just things that I came across as I was looking at inspiration and other photographers to see what's going on out there. And again, these are all just my opinion. I think all wedding photography is extremely beautiful and it's a beautiful day, so I don't think you should take it very seriously. If there was something that I said that you disagreed with, everyone has their own personal tastes and preferences, and that's okay. That is all the time that I have for you today. I greatly appreciate it if you stuck around to the end of the video. If you are new and you would like to see more of my face, you can subscribe, leave a like, all that good jazz. I hope you have a super lovely day, and I will see you next time. Bye!